We're very pleased that it's possible also for 2CureX here to be here today. And welcome. And with that said, I will hand over the word to Ole Testrup.
Thank you so much. Let me say that I have our Chief Business Officer, Martin van der Linden, here with me that will help us in the end of the talk to tell us how we actually are going to earn money. And as said, in respect for our international investors, of which we know that there is a number of them following this, we do it in English. This is what we want to go through today. Start with a little bit of a description. What is our main product, IndiTreat, actually? And then we will show you some breaking news, clinical updates, and then we will show you that we are preparing for launch, and how is that going and what's happening over the next couple of years. But let me start with a movie we made a little while ago that explains the basic of the IndiTreat technology.
Cancer is often thought of as one disease affecting different parts of the body. But in reality, there are actually more than 100 different types of cancers, and there are more than 400 different drugs and drug combinations available. This makes the task of choosing the right cancer treatment very challenging, and that challenge is reflected in the response rate among patients being treated, which today is around 30%. Often, the oncologist only has one shot at choosing the right treatment, and it usually takes months before they can see any results. This is where IndiTreat can assist. IndiTreat is a method that focuses on finding the perfect treatment for every individual patient. A small sample is taken from the patient tumor. IndiTreat then expands this sample to hundreds of microtumors and tests all available treatments individually. In a matter of days, IndiTreat identifies the effective treatments from the ineffective ones. This is done by measuring the growth of the individual microtumors. An effective treatment will kill the tumor cells, which causes the microtumor to shrink. IndiTreat then presents detailed data on every treatment tested. This helps the oncologist to choose an effective treatment for every individual patient. IndiTreat will increase the number of cancer patients responding to treatment. 2CureX, because cancer patients are individuals.
And how does this then actually look in real life? What you see here is microtumors that are established from a small tissue sample. We make thousands of these guys, and then you will see how they grow over about a week. And the principle is in essence very simple. Here we give a treatment A. To this patient, it didn't work. The tumor grows as if it had received no treatment. And down here, we have found an effective treatment to which the patient is sensitive. We will then screen hundreds and hundreds of different treatments and combinations thereof and find the one that matched the individual patient. It's very important to state that we have a number of fantastic drugs that save lives every day. However, we need to find the match. That's what we are all about. Here you have a presentation of the workflow. We take a small sample, make thousands of these microtumors, and test them. And this is how a test report would look like. If you were a patient, you would prefer to be a green treatment for you because that works, red doesn't. And the only thing you should get from that slide is that there's not a single treatment that works in all patients. This is a number of patients. So that is in essence what IndiTreat is all about. Then let me jump to our present pipeline. We have actually now 4 clinical studies running. We have one in colorectal cancer, we have in ovarian cancer, pancreatic cancer, and we've just launched one within preventive cancer medicine that we had a press release this morning out on. I'll come back to that. This release came about a month ago. This was a release showing that the study in metastatic colorectal cancer works. We have met both the primary and the secondary endpoint in an interim analysis. These trials are run such that you run them for a while, and then you evaluate whether you actually are meeting the endpoints. And we are happy to say that we met both of them. So our principal investigator, Lars Henrik Jensen from Vejle, he said that he was actually positively surprised that it is feasible to tailor-make treatment from a functional test like IndiTreat. And how does this test then run? We get patients that have metastatic colorectal cancer in the late stage. These patients have been treated heavily, and they do not respond to any of the standard treatments. Therefore, we see red spots throughout. Then we will get a small tissue sample from the tumor that have spread to the liver. From that, we make these thousands of small microtumors. And what you will see in the lower screening panel, here we are looking into testing drugs that are normally not used in colorectal cancer. And this patient, we found actually 2 that was effective. And the patient were offered TAS 102. That's a treatment combination of 2 drugs. And here you have the conclusion from this interim analysis. 60% of the patients that were treating according to the IndiTreat, they had progression-free survival after 8 weeks. We scanned them, we do a CT scan after 8 weeks, and we could see that the disease had not progressed. The cutoff was 20%. If we had not met that, we would have to stop the trial. And with regard to a technical endpoint, there we said that at least 50% of the patients, we should be able to make these small microtumors, we call tumoroids, and we should be able to test whether they are sensitive or not. And here we had about 70% of the patients, there we got successful tests out of them. So we are happy to say that we will continue the trial to its conclusion. Now, the press release we had out this morning, therefore, that must be really breaking news. It came here at 9 o'clock this morning. That was that we are expanding our activities into what's called preventive cancer medicine. And what is that? Well, preventive cancer medicine is actually, as it said, that you try to find a treatment that will prevent the cancer to occur. Huge screening programs have been launched throughout Europe, where we screen patients in Denmark between 50 and 74, actually 75. They are offered a screen to see whether they have blood in their stool, and if that is the case, they will be offered a colonoscopy. What we then will do, so you can say that is patients, or actually it's individuals, they have not become patients yet, but they have a polyp, or what we call an adenoma here, that will develop into a tumor. All colorectal cancer patients, their tumor has developed from an adenoma polyps. It's not exactly the same the other way around. So this is extremely important. So what we will do is that we will establish our, now it's not microtumors, but microadenomas, and we will test for a number of drugs that can be used to inhibit these adenomas to turn into a real cancer. Now, I mentioned COX-2. I don't know, are any of you taking aspirin every morning? No hands. That's a problem. I am. It turns out that if you take an aspirin, just 75, 150 milligrams, you have about 30% lowered risk of getting colorectal cancer if you have taken it for a period. If you're more than 50, you should do it. I get nothing out of it financially. But what we want to do is to find those patients that respond to some of this family of COX inhibitors and a number of other drugs that can be taken over a long period of time. Now, just to give you a flavor of this new business area, the EU have recommended that all states in the EU provide this population-wide screening for all their citizens. In Denmark, we started in 2014, and I have here numbers from 2016. 3,035,000 people were delivering in their test. Of those, 6,500 had adenomas of what we call medium to high risk of turning into a cancer. This is a number that is beyond the number of colorectal cancer patients occurring in Denmark. And obviously, if you go throughout Europe, this will be a huge area. Let me then just say that I and others are convinced that preventive cancer medicine will become a huge area in the future. So we are happy to add that to our pipeline. IndiTreat is not a technology that will push out other technologies. When you get a patient in, you will use all the technologies you have available to help to diagnose and find the treatment for that patient. That will still hold, but there is a hole in that toolbox. And funnily enough, that's the one we provide. IndiTreat is a functional test, as you have seen, that is not offered yet. We will still do all the rest to find the best treatment for the patient. Who are doing it? The clinical partners we have are spread over in Denmark. We have Bispebjerg Hospital, and we have Vejle and Rigshospitalet. And in Germany, we have University Clinic Eppendorf Hamburg, and we have in the UK, Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham. Furthermore, we have a very important partner, that is Digestive Cancers Europe. That is the biggest patient organization within these types of cancers. And I should say, we are in discussion with a number of other hospitals throughout Europe at the moment. The team behind it is here. Here is the management team, and Martin is here. Actually, Card is here as well. We have a very strong clinical advisory board, and we have our standard board of directors. Now I will hand it to you, Martin.
Thank you so much.
Tell how we get money out of it.
Yeah. I hope that you agree with me that what you heard from Ole, that this is an extremely interesting technology. It is a technology that operates in a market that is very big, and especially also with the latest news, the scope for where IndiTreat is eligible is enormous. And I have a slide on this. This is basically also a slide to tell you basically why is it interesting to invest into 2CureX. What we believe it is interesting for is that the market is substantial. There are 377,000 eligible cancer patients annually diagnosed with cancer in the three areas: metastatic pancreatic cancer, colorectal cancer, or ovarian cancer. These numbers are eligible for the IndiTreat test. These patients are treated annually with cancer treatments, and IndiTreat could make the difference here. If you calculate on the numbers, that accounts to a 11 billion SEK, svenska krona, business opportunity. So that is already in itself enormous. But also, if we take the last news in perspective, the preventive cancer treatment, this is more than 500,000 individuals that have malignant or serious adenomas, high-risk adenomas or medium-risk adenomas. And the European Union has this extremely high on the agenda. They really want to make an effort in making sure that there's companies that introduce technologies into this area, preventive cancer medicine. So here we add a very big opportunity to the business case of 2CureX. And so that's the first reason. The second reason is why I think this is an interesting investment opportunity is, so far things are on plan. We are on track with our preparations for market launch. We are on track with preparations for our commercial launch in 2020. We started in 2017 in raising money to do all the things we wanted to do. In 2018, we delivered on our IPO milestones and prepared the company to make the step towards 2019. And 2019, for us, is all about commercial readiness. And the first thing here is, in order to sell the IndiTreat test, we need data. And what you can see here, in the first thing that we done in the let's say the end of February last month, we presented our interim data that Ole just showed you with exciting numbers for IndiTreat. But we also are working on launch readiness in our launch markets. We want to launch in the Nordics, we want to launch in Germany and in the UK. In these markets, we're looking at our preparations in order to make sure that this will run smoothly. And also doing a pre-launch. And a pre-launch is basically that we are already working with a lot of stakeholders to learn on how to do this the right way. And this will help us to transition to the next year, to 2020, where we can launch IndiTreat. So all this is very much on track. And as part of this pre-launch, we are working on on the ordering process. IndiTreat is a CE IVD mark test. That means that there is a whole quality system behind it. It all needs to run smoothly. Luckily, we are already in collaboration with clinical hospitals or clinical partners where we test IndiTreat through our clinical trials. So a patient comes to the oncologist can order the test online, it is barcoded, the sample goes to 2CureX, we can track it all the way, we make the microtumors, and it ends up into a report, it's uploaded to a database, and then within 14 days, the oncologist can use the information to treat the patient. And that is basically what our story with 2CureX is. We think we have a very interesting technology in our hands. We do not predict, but we measure the treatment effectiveness and resistance for the individual cancer patient. And we can make these microtumors very easily in order to decide which treatment the patient should have. And also, we uniquely complement whatever is in the toolbox for the oncologist. So, our vision is to establish IndiTreat as the global standard for measuring an individual cancer patient's response to the different drug therapy options. This is what we want to have as our vision. So, if you have some questions, we are in the lobby in a minute, and feel free to approach us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ole and Martin. And with this, we will open up for some questions. And while we're just getting that ready, I would like to ask, in the world of personalized medicine, it seems fantastic what you're doing.
I agree.
How unique are you, and what is out there?
So we are, in essence, not in personalized medicine, but in personalized therapy.
Yes.
That's a very important distinction. So it's not one specific drug that we develop for a specific patient. We have hundreds of drugs at our availability. So in that sense, it is different.
Yes.
And that these microtumors actually reflects the tumor. But that is the key.
Yes, but
and they do.
The personalized medicine wouldn't work without the ability to predict. And so, for instance, we talked about HER2 earlier on, and Herceptin and Herceptest. Herceptin wouldn't be what it was without Herceptest, and so on.
Right.
And that's a little bit. So, who are your competitors? How does that look?
There are competitors, and most of those are academic competitors. There's a number of very strong papers showing that these types of microtumors are reflecting what happens in the patients. So that's primarily where we see our competitors. And I should state that generating the microtumors, that's not protected by 2CureX or others. What we have a very strong protection, both here, US, Canada, India, God knows where. That is the whole process from taking that tissue out to the report. So that's where we distinguish ourselves. Some of these patents were actually filed, or I should say they issued probably in 2009. So we have been very early on. And we have then a follow-on patent that issued last year. So strong IP. We have done the heavy work with doing CE IVD registration. That's tough, and that's something that academic groups want to do. And then we have a number of clinical partners.
Yeah.
And I think the clinical partners is key to us. I mean, we actually start by seeing, can we find the right partners before we go into a disease? We do not start with the cancer entity, we start with the partners.
Yeah.
Yes, my name is Jørgen Larsen. It's very impressive. I'm looking forward to it. You mentioned at least 6, I counted, different chemotherapeutic products. But I've been told there's only 2 or 3 approved products in Denmark. So how does that come?
Yeah, so the trial we run now, those are all approved drugs, but some of them are what we call off-label, meaning that they are not registered for colorectal cancer. There's one of those that are for breast and ovarian, and but there we can take whatever. All of them approved, so the day after the test, the patient can be treated.
I think we have room for one more question, if there is a question. Yes?
Super good presentation, first of all. So talking about the business side, if everything goes well within the next, I would say, 24 months, where do you see the business going?
Well, everything goes well. We see the business going that we actually are launching in one of our markets for sure. We are focusing heavily on the Nordics, Germany, and prepare also already in the UK. So I think that if everything moves so forward as fast as it does now, that we will be able to make sure that we can keep the plan and continue to say that we are on track with our ambitions. So we are already talking to several stakeholders in this field and test our logistic processes through the clinical trials, and so we are very much moving forward into the direction of commercialization of IndiTreat. So.
Maybe I can add that one of the founders, 3 founders of 2CureX, is a German, and we have Germans on our board. So Germany we've sort of born with Germany, the biggest market in Europe. So that was also the first place where we established ourselves outside Denmark. So we are well underway, and those few markets that Martin mentioned actually covers 30 to 40% of the European market. So.
Yeah, and we have, as Ole said, we have already a 2CureX lab ready in Germany at our affiliate on the German market. Yeah.
All right. I hope are you able to discuss later on if you'll be here? Excellent. Thank you very much, Ole and Martin. Yeah.